Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Ryan.
Do you want coffee?
No.
Coffee, right, Rachel? You want some coffee? Wink.
No.
You want me to get you the special coffee for the podcast?
No, I'll just take the special.
No, Rachel, wink. You know, with our podcast, you always like to have, the special coffee. I'll make sure to serve that for you during the discussion.
I refuse to even say as part of a bit that I want coffee because I don't drink coffee.
I don't either, but, it's a special occasion.
You don't drink alcohol either, so it doesn't work on...
But you know what I haven't done? Both at the same time. So maybe that will be the drink for me. Alcoholic coffee. I've never done both at the same time.
Yeah, two things that you don't like. Guaranteed.
There's many things that I don't...
Guaranteed to be something that you love.
Sorry, my mind's going in a very bad, dirty place where I keep thinking of many things I don't like, but if I did two at the same time, maybe it would change my mind. But Rachel, we are here to talk about Babylon 5. We're having a little bit of fun up the top because there's a whole coffee bit that I can't wait to get into in more detail. Oh my, what a fantastic scene and what a fantastic episode. But we are talking about Babylon 5 and we are YumYumPodcast because of what reasoning again?
Because of Star Trek Discovery. Yum Yum was a line said some years ago in that show. And Ryan was like a leech and latched on and has been suckling the blood from that moment and just growing and growing.
It's funny that you assume Star Trek it's funny that you think Star Trek Discovery is a series with flowing blood in it for a start. That's like very hilarious. That's the part that gets me laughing.
No, it's more of a secular thing because it's also attached to like...
You know what people say to us? They say, thank you for explaining it every episode. We've had comments saying you don't need to explain it anymore, but guess what? Sometimes we get new people in, sometimes we even have guests come in who do not know the moment, who need to be reminded that, in fact, there was a scene in which it was an action scene. It was a scene of violence. It was a moment
I think I did a good enough job that you don't need to do it
of kicking and fighting, but guess what? You didn't highlight.
Michelle Yeoh, actress...
I'm nodding.
Actress and Oscar winner.
But she didn't win an Oscar then.
No, she won it straight after she finished Discovery.
Literally the first project she did after Discovery, she won an Oscar. There wasn't even a gap. It's almost like Star Trek Discovery stopped her from being a good talent for years. Yeah, very upsetting.
Prevented her from pursuing better work.
To be a part of art, and we are here to talk about some art. Babylon 5, we are rewatching it, revisiting it, and reviewing it, and we are in the late game of the show. We are in the final days of Season 5, and we have brought on a guest, someone who has been going through Babylon 5 themselves on a podcast. We are joined by... Come on, Rachel, who are we joined by?
Ben? I think his name is.
I had Dr. Becker from the television series Becker down on my information here, but maybe we're joined by Benson from the TV show Benson.
That's right. That's why I had Ben in my head. It didn't feel quite right.
I often get Benson and Becker confused with one another.
I think he often goes by his baptismal name.
Oh boy. But no, we are actually joined by Ben from the Last Best Babylon 5 podcast. Welcome back, Ben.
Hello. And I drink both coffee and alcohol, and I've had alcohol in my coffee. I've done it all. I've seen it all. I've lived a life. The things I could tell you.
What alcohol did you put in your coffee?
I've done a couple different, but like I've done like Kahlua because it's just nice and kind of smooth. My friends, it's almost my friends and I used to on Thanksgiving morning, which is coming up here in the United States. We would all go to this neighborhood bar. That we had a Cheers type situation where all of our friends in this neighborhood
knew your name,
the bartender, and we all knew each other, and we all went there, and every morning on Thanksgiving, and we all had coffees with booze in them, and we would watch the Thanksgiving parade floats.
Oh, that's so sweet. And you all held hands, right?
We did all hold hands. It was like that thing that was referenced in Us, if you're familiar with Jordan Peele's Us.
Oh, of course. Yes. Thank you
we
for
were all
specifying, because Us
haunted
means
by
so much.
doppelgangers. Then it got really weird.
To get serious for a moment, you host your own Babylon 5 podcast, and but heck, by the time this is released, you would have finished the series itself. Obviously, there's movies and Crusade and The Lost Tales, everyone's favorite, The Lost Tales.
No,
I'm thrilled to watch the Rangers.
Legend of the Rangers. Can I just pitch this?
Legend of the Rangers, because it's supposed to be awful.
Can I just pitch this your way now? How good would Legend of the Rangers was supposed to be like a TV movie pilot for a series following the Rangers. How good would it have been, unironically, if Legend of the Rangers followed Captain Montoya and his crew?
I mean, yeah, like, and that guy has got like some real gravity. Like, I like that actor. Have you done
we did our spotlight
series
on him last week, but I wanted to pitch that now because I know you're excited for Legend of the Rangers. How good would it be if it was about him and his crew on adventures?
It'd be great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but JMS, I know you don't like advice for writing, but take that one down.
Yeah, he'll block you.
He will block me, and he will like it. But you are hosting your own show about Babylon 5, so tell everyone a bit about yourself, the podcast, what's been happening.
So, as you were saying, it's also a watch along, and Sunday, as of this recording, we are recording Sleeping in Light. And it's me, and I'm watching it with my friends, Steve and Sean, and they've never seen it, Babylon 5 before, and I have, but as of Sunday, they'll have seen it all. I mean, not like, we still got movies and stuff.
You haven't seen it all till you've seen The Lost Tales, yeah.
So I haven't
seen it all until you've seen River of Souls.
Starring Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen and
Ian McShane.
Ian McShane from Deadwood, and a number of other really great things.
Not that though.
I know it's. Who is it on the cast that said they were embarrassed by it?
Jerry Doyle said that he was not. No. He said he was pissed off because Ian McShane refused to learn his lines because he was embarrassed to be a part of this show, and that he was beneath him to learn the lines. And Jerry Doyle said he was one of the most disrespectful actors that he had ever come across in his career. And so do many other cast members that were in that movie. They're like, Ian McShane's kind of a cunt because he came into our show saying, I'm better than this. It's like, well, why are you here? Martin Sheen's taking it seriously, and look what he's looking like. Fuck you, Ian McShane.
And Ian McShane would go on to be, like, Deadwood famously, the showrunner and the main writer, Milch, would give him would give lines up to like an hour before shooting or something crazy like that. So he was no stranger to having to quickly memorize lines.
Anyhow, thanks for brushing against my prey.
Could you please tell us what the DVD description says of this particular one? What is this episode called, by the way, Ben?
Episode 15, Darkness Ascending. Command says one thing, his sense of duty says another. Lanier disobeys orders, commandeers a vessel, and risks his life to obtain holographic proof of Centauri involvement in the shipping line attacks. That's kind of what the plot is.
That's one of the many plots, but
that's not really. That's not also not really what it doesn't really dwell on Lanier's internal battle. Like, he just immediately is like, I'm going to do this. Like, there's not, like, his sense of duty versus command is not. Yeah,
the conflict comes from Sheridan and Delenn when it's in relation to that plot, but we'll have things to state about that, Rachel. We are experts of YYE, Yum Yum Energy, who in this particular episode could have licked their lips, thrown their hair back, even if they don't have hair, and say yum yum if JMS, Joe Michael Straczynski, was not afraid. Who would have said it?
I'm going to go with Montoya.
Oh, interesting. I mean...
Yeah, it is interesting.
Why?
To me. I just don't feel that energy coming from him. And
not
I
in
think
this
he's
episode.
pretty good.
Last episode, big
Yeah.
why
Oh,
him.
yeah.
This episode, why him? I do see it though, like when he's on the
Yeah.
little TV screen.
Yeah, there was just something about him.
He has a
that
swagger.
It just gave a twinkle of YYE, and I appreciated that he refrained.
Look, the easiest answer is, of course, the maitre d' at Fresh
Yes.
Air. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Yes,
But outside
he's the
of
obvious
him,
answer, and I wanted to leave that for you.
but
too.
outside of
I
him,
understand that.
of him, it's clearly Lita. It's clearly Lita.
yeah,
There's a lot of YYE in this.
There's so much. I was going to say Jakar, but in the scenes, it's actually
No.
Lita who has the YYE.
It's Lita, and Lita in Garibaldi's dream in particular.
Well, dream, question mark? Dream with her in it, question mark, question
Yeah.
mark, exclamation point. Ben, you're now a season pro of Yum Yum. What do you think? Who's your top contender for Darkness Ascending?
As I said, this is a really tough one because just to mix it up, because I think the waiter is the most obvious.
He's a maitre
But-
d', actually. Get
Or
that
the
right.
Maitre d', and that's
That's
what his
important.
term says.
He, specifically, Ben, he would care. He would care if you
That's
called him a
true.
waiter. Did you see that
That's
mustache?
true.
That's a maitre d's mustache.
That's true.
Not some
That's
fucking
true.
waiter.
I can't fight that. But I'll go with Lita for this because of how she, as JMS puts on the lurkers, like said on Usenet, she tweaks Jakar, but then also that incredible scene at the beginning where she's just perched on the edge of his bed and she's like, I'm doing fucked up telepath stuff. You don't remember this. Bye-bye.
This is a dream. You won't remember this. Bye-bye. I've got glowing eyes. Bye. This episode, Darkness Ascending, is one of my particular favorites of season 5. I really look forward to this stretch of the show. Season 5, we have stated on the podcast, is really a tale of two stories. You have the first half and the second half. The first half is very much slow, slice of life, character building stuff, and the telepath arc, the Byron arc. And then you have the second half, which looks at things on a more grander galactic scale, but also on a deeply intimate scale with character stuff too, and how those really intertwine. And I always look at Darkness Ascending as a really high point for Garibaldi as a character. We've had troubles with him as a character, but I've always liked the season 4 to season 5 version of him, in which the series really, really contends with the nastier sides of him as an individual and is willing to explore those in a far more human way. Even with season 4, where he's a sleeper agent bad guy, it's because it's just those are the traits of himself that have just been amplified. And season 5 is the fallout of such things. And Darkness Ascending, for all of the great stuff like the Delenn hugging Londo, which is an image that is burned into my
Very
brain
sweet.
for this episode, I often go back to how marvelous of a job it does at making me, in the tail end of the show, for all of the faults that I've had with Garibaldi along the way, actually feel genuinely sad and sorry and bad for him, as
I
well
feel
as be
pity.
pissed. Yeah, I feel pity for him, and you know that with his story in particular, that not everyone is going to ride off into the sunset and have a good time when the show ends. That there are going to be people who have to crawl through broken glass to get there, even if
And it
if
wouldn't
they
be
get
true
there.
to the show if it was all like tied up with a neat bow and everybody gets a happily ever after, because that's not true to the world that has been built.
For you, Rachel, Darkness Ascending, what are your opinions on this? What has been your views on it over time?
It's not one that I particularly look forward to. It's one where I'm like, oh, this is like the Garibaldi episode before, like, the end of Garibaldi.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh yeah, we do have this pit stop where Lise comes back for a little bit and then disappears again to only then come back.
She's like a boomerang. You throw Lise and she comes back. I can say that.
Thank you for edifying American stereotypes about how Australians talk.
Thank you.
I knew it. I knew you talked about boomerangs.
Ben, real question. Have you ever touched a boomerang? You ever thrown one?
I probably like a plastic toy one,
Doesn't
like a
count.
Nerf one as a kid. Like not certainly not what you would classify.
Ben, we brought you on to talk about Darkness Ascending, so please tell us your thoughts and feelings towards this. When I lobbed it your way, you seemed pretty excited to come on for this,
Yeah.
so please tell us about Darkness Ascending from Ben's point of view.
Well, so the first thing is that, I just watched this episode like a month or so ago for our podcast. And it's interesting, given that I just watched Sleeping in Light in preparation for our show, that like it's like this episode is a little bit of a sleeper of like how important it is. It fires off so many of the back half of season 5 plots, like all at once. Like especially like the explosive way it ends. And I agree with you, Ryan, that like, if you listen to our podcast, we're not Garibaldi fans. We're not in his corner, but we do like this run of Garibaldi episodes, and we do like Jerry Doyle in particular in this run of episodes. And I think really the only bummer of this episode, and we actually spoke about this with Rachel when she was on our podcast recently, is that like I'm not as interested in Lise. Lockley, like Tracy Scoggins, has incredible chemistry with Jerry Doyle. And they're great, and it would have been nice to like, I mean, we'll see her, run Garibaldi through in a couple episodes, but yeah, I think this is a great episode that, like in terms of plot and in terms of like all these character moments. And I'll also mention another thing that I really love in this episode is the fight that's not a fight between Sheridan and Delenn.
I love that scene so much.
Yeah. When Sheridan, Delenn confronts Sheridan for recalling the White Star, and Sheridan's like, "I can't wait I'm gonna roast your ass."
Like, I've been
Delenn.
building up this all day. I'm ready. I'm ready.
He does say the legendary phrase, "I've been working up a good mad," and that's such a Sheridan line to say.
Such a Sheridan line.
Ah, hell, Delenn, I've been working up a good mad all morning about this.
Yeah.
Such a loser. But,
and I think the Mira Furlan and Bruce Boxleitner are really like just their chemistry and like their kind of married friend, like we're not furious at, like, but their married disagreement. But also it's about this big galactic space opera thing. But then it's also a scene about their marriage and how they communicate with each other.
And their third-wheeling friend that's intruding upon their relationship.
Yeah.
This episode,
there's all sorts of wonderful subtext in it. It's really great. You can enjoy it as a big sci-fi scene, or you can enjoy it as like two actors doing a marriage scene. It's really good.
We open up on Garibaldi having a nightmare. Whenever Babylon 5 has dreams or visions or sequences of the imagination, they're often important, whether it is for the overarching narrative or this particular thread, or even just in the individual episode. And Garibaldi is walking around the ruins of Babylon 5. Everything's all shot up to hell and damaged, and people that he knows are dead around him with writing in blood, being like, "You failed me. Where were you?" Like, there's
very
Zach.
legible writing.
Yeah, well, they're gentlemanly when they die, and you have just Garibaldi being out of his element, confused. He doesn't know what's happening. This is just how we start the episode. I love when Babylon 5 has these cold opens where they just throw just chaos at you straight away, and you just have to take it and go, okay, get my grounding for a second here. This isn't we open up with Sinclair and Garibaldi pranking Ivanova, tee-hee-hee. This is a case of, oh no, all of my friends are dead. There's Franklin slowly dying and begging for help and saying that I didn't do enough. Uh-oh. And then the reveal is, it's a nightmare, of course, and the person destroying everyone and killing everything and ruining the day is Garibaldi. And something that I really particularly enjoyed about Jerry Doyle's performance, because he's got this big gun, this ludicrous prop. I don't know why they gave him such a big prop, but what I really like about his
alien gun, I think.
Oh, sure.
Right?
But what I appreciate about his performance is the nightmare Garibaldi, the one that's killing everyone. He's performed in the way that that he performs Garibaldi when he's drunk.
Nobody. Yes. We did it all by ourselves.
It is weirdly literal with how figurative it is, if that makes any sense to anybody else.
I think I understand.
Yeah, because it is telling you very much what this is about.
Like, it's a very straightforward sense of symbolism and metaphor. And I always immediately go like, oh yeah, this is the fear of his alcoholism destroying his life again, as it has in the past. And it makes even more sense when he has that conversation with Lise later where he's like, I'm in control. It's like, you're not.
I also really was impressed with the dream of just, it is... it's a weird effect, but I do like the effect of him putting his hand on the table and it becomes like the T-1000 goo.
Great.
Yeah.
I love that 90s CGI. I think it looks great. I love it.
It's fun.
Yeah, the bar consuming him is, again, like you said, Rachel, it's obvious symbolism, as well as the Garibaldi talking to him, the nightmare Garibaldi saying like, hey, don't fight it. There's no point fighting it. In fact, that makes it worse. Just let it consume you. Just let your addiction, let your alcoholism take over. It's fine. It's fine. You'll be okay. For yourself, Ben, Garibaldi has been a character, as mentioned, one that hasn't fared the best for you and your group on the watch through. But what about this element of the character in the final stretch of the show has been working?
I think it's because it's such a grounded and human problem where so many other, like his last major problem was like a telepath took over his brain, but this is that as a consequence of that, of this whole the Bester's actions, he's succumbing to his worst impulses, and it's something that's always kind of hung over the entire show. Like it's like from that not particularly good episode in the first season,
Survivors.
Drunk again, Uncle Mike.
It's in The Gathering too.
That's right.
The higher ups are chewing Sinclair out for even hiring him because he's a alcoholic fuck up.
I think it's mentioned a couple times, other than that too. But it's like, it never happens until this part of this season, and at first, and what I like about it is it's like he's able to function like, JMS knows this extremely well personally. It's like he has good days and he has bad days, and he has days where he's absolutely able to function and nothing goes wrong, and then days where like he's falling apart, or days that he's late to stuff. And he provides enough kind of plausible deniability in how he behaves, which is also, JMS is doing this to let Jerry Doyle know that he thinks that he's drinking too much, but
which Jerry didn't appreciate.
He didn't.
He was very pissed off about it.
What? I don't think. I mean, in fairness, I don't think anyone would appreciate that. But also, someone needed to say that to him. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really well written, like this struggle that he's having, and how he justifies it to himself, and how he says he can control it. And obviously this this metaphor at the front is like, he says he can control it, but in the dream it very explicitly says, give in, surrender. That's not something that you can control if that's what your fear is. Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I think it's really well acted by Jerry Doyle. And I mentioned it earlier, but then also the blow up scene with him and Lockley that comes in a couple episodes is some of the best writing in the season.
When Lise comes into this episode, I kind of throw my hands up in the air, go, where was Lise during this whole entire show? Because the version of the character we get of her in this episode is actually compelling, is actually interesting, but she hasn't been here, and it's a little too late. But God damn it, some of the things she says and some of the things she does made me squirm in my seat, because it's like, yeah, that's how people are with partners of theirs who have relapsed. And it just made me sweat nervously at the fact it's like, oh, this is real. Even though I know it's a TV show, it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And that's what I love about season 5 of Garibaldi, is it is committed to being uncomfortable with the character rather than having him be the kind of like the heart of the group that he was in the first couple of seasons. Rachel, for you, you've also had problems with Garibaldi. What about this stretch of the show? What about this part of the show has worked for you when it comes to him?
It makes him more interesting to me, because those vulnerabilities are starting to come up. Because a lot of the earlier seasons have a focus on Garibaldi being right, being good at his job, refusing to be vulnerable. And this relapse undoes all of those things that he's worked really hard to build up within himself, and also in the eyes of other people, because he wants to rebuild his life for himself, yes, but he also wants to prove to other people that he's not a fuck up anymore. And I think it says a lot that he has been refusing to talk to Lise, not returning her calls, not accepting her calls, dodging them, all of those things that we, before this, didn't question. We didn't go, oh, I bet Garibaldi is not talking to Lise and dodging things. But as soon as she says that, it's like, oh, of course he is. We didn't need to see that in previous episodes to accept that in this one.
He refuses to admit to things getting to him. The alcohol I can control because I'm better now. I'm a better person. I was a bad person back then, but now I have all the things I ever wanted. I have the money, I have the fame, I have the respect of others. I have you, Lise. And so I should be able to have the alcohol, and it shouldn't be able to affect me. It shouldn't be able to control me. It should not ruin me because I'm in control. Look, I wasn't in control for a whole season of this show, but I'm in control now, and it should be perfectly fine. And it's that bravado that we saw in those earlier seasons be skewed differently. And it makes him far more of a, like you said, Rachel, you pity him in a way. It's like, oh, all of these like attitudes you used to hold in previous episodes are now being like used against you. It's your strengths and your weaknesses just being absolutely jumbled up, and he's unable to recognize that. And the people around him, most of them don't know how to help him either, which is also a part of the tragedy. Is in real life too, like sometimes it's like you don't know how to help people when they go through these struggles because maybe you haven't gone through it yourself, or maybe your journey's different if you have to this person. And heck, we even heard Garibaldi vocalize this when Franklin was going through his addiction of just thinking that I haven't done enough, I don't know how to help more than I can. And but everyone's journey is different. Random question, since we're still in this early part of it. Do you think Lita was there? Do you think she was real? Or do you think that was just like a fake out dreamy thing? Ben, what do you think? Lita just pops in there to be like, I'm here.
I am gonna, I think I might have thought differently when I watched this episode for the podcast, but I'm pretty sure she was there because Garibaldi doesn't know. Like, because this is consistent with her actions later, is that she's trying out all of her incredible Kosh powers that she had never really used, and now she's feeling liberated and furious after everything that happened in the first half of the season. And so I think she's absolutely there, and I think that she's just trying out some powers just to see what she can do, because later she's going to make everybody scarily tap on desks.
Yeah, it's interesting because I also have always thought that she's there as well. It lines up with her character, but also Garibaldi and everyone knows that Lita has been altered by the Vorlons, that she's been made very powerful by them, and his fear and distrust of telepaths has been since the beginning of the show. And so it also lines up with, of course, a part of his a nightmare he would have would be someone he knows being able to know what's going on with him. And telepaths have that ability to do that. Like, he has expressed vehemently that he, although likes Lita because she's one of the good ones, he still does not trust her as much as he trusts Sheridan or Franklin or, the mundanes around him. Mm-hmm. And I do raise my eyebrow a bit too, because I also think of Lita's attitudes and behavior and actions within this episode that go kind of counter to what is presented in this opening scene, where this is very amoral. She doesn't give a shit about the implications of this. And then the rest of the episode is her giving a shit about what lines she's crossing of individuals' privacy and autonomy.
That was a little curious to me. That it has both of those. So yeah. And
the thing is, the show doesn't answer it. They're like, like Garibaldi, you're left in a panicking sweat, going, "Was that real?"
I think she was there, but the question that I have is, was she planning to go visit Garibaldi, or was she drawn to Garibaldi's dream and then kind of eavesdrop? Like, did she set up the dream, or did she just join?
Why Garibaldi?
I think she joined it.
Yeah, I think she joined it, but why Garibaldi? Out of all the people, why would she use him as the one to be vindictive against? Because he was actually good to Byron. That's the funniest part, was him and Franklin were the only ones that were good to Byron and her during that arc.
He refused to help her.
I guess.
But that's what I was wondering. I obviously come down on a specific side, but it was a question that came up in this watch for me.
I'm testing to see what I can do. How far I can go. I had no idea. You shouldn't have woken up. This is just a dream. This never happened.
Lise returns, Rachel.
Yes.
You know what we say? Come on.
We love Lise.
We love, say it with conviction, we love Lise.
No.
Rachel, I'm not hearing it. This is one of her final times. She's not even in Sleeping in Light. They reference her, and Garibaldi says it in a very snarky tone, like, she's shopping again, that fucking Lise. No, we love Lise.
We see their daughter.
Yeah, we love Lise. We love Lise because she's one of the worst written characters in the show. She's one of the worst. And it's upsetting because every now and then, JMS bothers to give her something.
Yeah, and this episode is one of them where it's just like, this is why Lise exists as a character.
She is actually good in this episode. She has points of view to offer. She has a really lived-in quality. She feels as if she's been a major character in the show for 5 seasons in this episode. Like, not only the actress, but the writing puts this gravitas to her.
It throws me off when we watch this episode because it's just like, why are you pretending like she's an actual person, like she's an actual character? Like, it kind of works, but it makes me resent Lise as a character even more because it's like, you could have been doing this the whole time, couldn't you?
You didn't. The relationship, like the writing for relationships in this series is incredibly strong. This is highlighted by Sheridan and Delenn in this episode, but because it's highlighted by the strengths of those, it just makes the relationship of Garibaldi and Lise even more questionable because if, say for instance, you had Garibaldi and Lise be like an ongoing couple within this series, this episode, this series of sequences would feel like honest and true and heartbreaking and you wouldn't question it. But since Lise has been this nebulous character that I cannot tell you why they love each other, I do not know why they love each other, let alone why she's still choosing him after all of this time. It means that all of this wonderful material that this actress is giving and JMS is putting in almost falls on deaf ears to me because it hasn't been earned. It's one of the few times in which the long-term game hasn't paid off here for me. Ben, what do you think about Lise?
Yeah, I'm not much a Lise lover. I'm not chanting "We love Lise." I didn't join you in that chant, and I won't. She is good in this episode. This is definitely one of the better Lise hours. It does make me wonder, like, if would we have gotten more Lise if they didn't try to do it like a Talia thing? I don't know. Like, because obviously that actor left. But like it's true. She seems like kind of this kind of afterthought character. Like she's part of. I mean, yeah, she has less as a character and more as she's like kind of a symbol of a lot of the baggage of Garibaldi's past. Like she's this manifestation of all this shit that's been like kind of haunting Garibaldi his whole life. And that's why I'm like, let's get to the Lockley scene.
Would you say that she is the most traditionally feminine / female character that's written in this show? Because that's what I keep going back to of she slots in as just what you would say is a stock standard woman character in the 1990s. Like in Star Trek, for instance, they write women pretty poorly a lot of the time. And a lot of them is like, oh, look, it's an old flame of Jean-Luc Picard. And that's how I feel about Lise, which is weird because I think the female characters in Babylon 5 are usually written supremely well and very strongly. But in my eyes, I look at her as just like so traditional of female characters of this era. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating because as you say, I think a lot about in the first season, Sinclair and Catherine, and how much I like those two and how well they're written. And if you watch the JMS new video sync up commentaries, he admits that he's just he wrote actual things that from an actual relationship that he had. And then like this episode also has the Sheridan and Delenn scene, which is also written in a very kind of similar, like adult, like with a good understanding of how adult relationships work. And then Garibaldi and Lise is like just kind of a swing in a miss, and it's just like, wait, why? How are you able to do this with these other characters?
To go further into some of the Lise things, she returns, she's happy, she wants Garibaldi to come back with her to Mars to help her run this company because she doesn't know how it works because she's just an average woman. She's not a corporate business tycoon. She just has had all of this put into her lap, and she wants Garibaldi to help her out and pull his weight, but he's being all distant, emotionally and physically, of course. And for all of this talk of Lise, the moment that I love is when she finds the bottle in his stuff and she goes deadly quiet. That is like one of those, that's one of those things that JMS puts in. It's like, dude, relationships really well. Because that's one of those, That's one of those where, Rachel and I, for instance, I mean, obviously we haven't had anything like this, but like when something's real bad,
it's bad when it goes quiet.
When it goes quiet. And I've been Garibaldi in the shower being like, hey, things are going awfully quiet out there. Uh-oh.
What's happening?
What's everything quiet about?
This isn't a good sign. I don't like it when it goes quiet.
And
if she's yelling at me, she's at least like feeling something. But when you're really thinking about something, you tend to go quiet.
And the actress really... she's so good in this scene in particular. The rage, the anger, the disappointment, the sadness that she's able to communicate in this. And her and Joey Doyle finally have chemistry. It's like they finally lock in and feel like they've been in a relationship for well over a decade. And I'm loving this. I'm like eating this up. Like we always jokingly say we love Lise, but I actually love Lise in this episode, unironically. I was approving of her at every turn of like, yes, this is a really well written and well realized character. Like when he's trying to give his spiel about I'm in control, it's perfectly fine. I've got a good life now.
She's like, I don't buy your bullshit.
She reminds him of it's destroyed us before and look how long it took you to build yourself up again. So why
risk it?
Why even risk it?
Don't risk it for the biscuit.
Or, let me get this straight. If the car is going to crash, you might as well be the one driving it. Is that your logic there? Is that what you're going for here? She does such a wonderful job of undermining him, of poking holes in his story and his narrative, and I was just riveted at every moment between the two. I thought it was really, really awesome. I mean, Rachel, Lise is often a punching bag for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But here she has a point. Like, it matters that she's here. It matters that it's her. It matters that it's the history that they have together. And as good as it is, like I kind of said it before, but it makes me more annoyed at what we get before and after, because it's just like nothing rises to this moment.
They have the ultimatum of, okay, well, if it's not a problem for you then, don't drink while I'm here. Let's see if you can do that. She makes it a task for him. This isn't friendly like how it was between Garibaldi and Franklin, in which Garibaldi would take all of the brunt of Franklin's anger, all the brunt of Franklin's rejection of the problem, and he would take it as a friend and be very gentlemanly about it and just give a sorrowful look. And no, Lise isn't playing that game. Lise is pissed the fuck off. And she just says, okay, if it's not a problem for you, then you don't drink while I'm here. She's not going to try and grapple with it in this more, I guess, like big picture way that, and sensitive way that Garibaldi did for Franklin, or Franklin tried to do for Garibaldi earlier in this season, where Franklin reached out to Garibaldi being like, hey, if you have a problem, come talk to me. Lise doesn't have that attitude. She doesn't have that experience. So she just says to him, get up. Get the fuck up.
Get your shit together.
But she also can't help but, in a way, at points enable is the thing too. She made a very interesting... She made a move that I'll never forget in the show, which is they go to the restaurant, they go to Fresh Air, and it actually is funny because JMS points something out in the writing here, which is Garibaldi is annoyed that all they do is talk about plots and talk about their relationship drama and that they don't actually have nice moments. And I laugh at that because it's true. They've never just had moments. They've never just had nice things. They only ever talk about their shitty past or whatever the plot is currently. But, Ben, did you note down what Lise did at the restaurant? Did you note down what she did in retaliation to when Garibaldi pissed her off?
Let's I gotta let me check
have a look.
my notes here.
Oh yes, please.
Did I note it?
Oh yes.
Let's see here. They get into this argument. No, I guess I didn't. I'm going over the notes here. What did I miss?
She very, very pointedly orders a wine.
Yeah, she's like,
yes,
I need a wine.
Oh, she wants whatever's red.
She's like,
she wants the house wine as long as it's red. That's right.
And she said because
she's rubbing his face in it.
Yeah, she's pissed at him like that. Her response to anger is, "I need a fucking drink." It's not even a case of I'm throwing it in your face. It's her naively doing the same thing he does, which is when things are bad, I need a fucking drink.
Is it me? Did I miss something? Did I misunderstand something? I mean, I could have sworn you said that you were coming here to help me relax, to unwind, get rid of some of the tension. Why do I feel like blowing my brains out?
You tell me.
Garibaldi just wants a coffee. Rachel, he just wants a coffee, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. And he does not do a good job of lying about that coffee being bad. Not at all.
He's not subtle. What is this? Okay, so is this dinner? I kind of lost track of what the timeline of this is. Are they having dinner?
Yeah.
Do you have coffee with dinner? Is that a thing?
No, no. I mean, you have it as the guy, as the maitre d' says, you have it after dinner.
Do you?
It's not a with dinner drink.
No.
Okay, I wasn't too sure if this is an American thing because Garibaldi's really pushing like this is normal, but it's not.
No, it's
you have
it
with breakfast. If you're having a bagel,
yeah,
that's fine. But Garibaldi is interested in this steak made out of soy. If you recall,
I do.
Like he's talking about this fake steak, and then he orders a coffee. I can't imagine having
Sounds
steak
disgusting.
and coffee.
No,
it's that just doesn't go together. Steak and coffee, unbelievable.
I wanted to highlight because even in all of this seriousness, all of this heaviness, because the Garibaldi stuff isn't played for comedy. There's no laughs to be had. And then JMS injects a little bit of levity with a very kooky maitre d' character.
With this maitre d' character out of like a very broad comedy. It's like just this very, very silly character.
It's like I'm watching To Be or Not to Be or something. Like I've just tuned into like a 1940s comedy film. It's just very strange.
I was watching a great Ernest Lubitsch film earlier this week, but anyway, it's a very weird thing that he's correct. It's weird to have coffee with your dinner, but like he doesn't need to be that pushy. Like, it's very strange because it's like Garibaldi's like, and I'll have a coffee. And he's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I want a coffee. And then he pushes back a second time. That's bizarre.
But he reveals,
why would he do that?
He reveals later that he was trying to communicate, do you want an alcoholic coffee? Like, we were talking about the same thing, because Garibaldi runs away to put
but he can't say that he does want that kind of coffee because he's not meant to be drinking in front of ladies.
But it gives a little bit of an insight of what it's like to work at Fresh Air, that the maitre d' has to help enable people like this and has to help serve them and do all of this stuff, and he has his little language. But I miss this in TV, where you would just have some fucking kooky, bizarre, theatrical, weird little guy come in and add flavor to a scene and then leave. That's all he does. He just adds flavor and leaves. Like, there's a certain artistry to, like, especially in the 1990s. I feel like you would get this maitre d' character, like, in every show. Like, in every show, there was a version of this, like, kooky scene. And I adore it so much. I miss this. I want more of these little character actors who just pop in to do an absurd bit of business that maybe doesn't line up with the tone of the show, but God bless it. It's a part of the show in its way as well. And it makes you scratch your head, like, why is it written like this? Why is it performed like this? Everything else is so natural, but then this is just so arched. But I kind of adore how out of place it is at the same time. I know that sounds weird. We criticize like shows for like fucking up like this, but I don't know. There's just something about this era of TV where it's nostalgic for me. It's like, they always used to do this in shows. We talked about her a little earlier, but Lita is doing some stuff in the episode.
Yes.
What's she up to, Rach?
Well, other than gate crashing Garibaldi's dream, trying to figure out a way forward for the telepaths.
Yes, the telepath colony plot has picked up again. Mm-hmm. And what's her first course of action?
Trying to get a business deal. So she's stalking this man through the Zocalo, being like, but we can do this, but we can do this, but we can do this, but I can help you.
She's not coming in with nothing. She has all of these
she's very
opportunities
prepared.
To give. She's prepared. She's learned, because in season 4, you see, she tried to apply for a job one time, but since she wasn't with the Corps, they couldn't accept her, and she didn't have enough excuses to give for them to give in. And it happens here. She can give all of the excuses. She can give all of these ideas and options and opportunities and favors, and it doesn't matter, because business, there's a bureaucracy here. There's paperwork. There's insurance to deal with. We've got contracts, and no company will be able to work with you. Good luck. You can try, but good luck. And I even like that the businessman she's talking to genuinely seems like, hey, I'm not unsympathetic to your cause. Like, I'm totally down for it.
I'm not against you. I'm just more in favor of profit.
I'm just following how the system works, and the system works against you right now. So good luck with your mission. Fun fact, Rachel. We have seen this actor before, the one who plays the businessman.
Oh, have we?
Not in Babylon 5. We have seen him in Space Above and Beyond as the recurring character of the chaplain of the Saratoga. He's in one of the most famous scenes of Space Above and Beyond, in which he tells McQueen to meet his maker, which is very funny because that character of McQueen was genetically engineered and made in a test tube, and he says, I don't have a god. Why should I thank my maker? He's just some geek in a lab coat. And yes, it's the chaplain from Space Above and Beyond, who's had a very short acting career, but for some reason, just random spurts in sci-fi, and there you are. But Lita makes an interesting move. I really like how this episode throws you off, because you have all the Garibaldi stuff. They emphasize Lise wants Garibaldi to help run this company, and you're thinking, oh, Lita, you got to turn to Garibaldi. He has a company. Yeah. He has a company, and he's very much against the Psi Corps, so he can help you, surely. But then she takes a twist, she takes a turn, and she decides, I've got to talk to my old friend.
Jakar!
I've got to talk to my old friend Jakar.
We want to discuss pleasure Thresholds.
Well, it's interesting. The first thing is that this episode is extremely looking back to the first season. They talk in the fresh air scene about how the last time they were there was when Catherine and Sinclair were engaged, or the last time Garibaldi, I can remember. And then they talk about this in the pilot. This scene in the pilot, which I kind of think might have, like, JMS thought, I can reference the pilot because I think maybe this might have aired around the same time that they aired the redo of the pilot. Maybe
they would have had here's the TNT cut of the pilot before season 5 comes out, and then the summer can be every episode of the first 4 seasons, so you're ready.
And so the scene is Lita going to Garibaldi after she's been rejected by this businessman, and she immediately puts together, she's like, because the businessman says, he's like, you'd have to find someone really rich and really powerful who doesn't owe anything to the Psi Corps. Good luck. And then, like, Lita's like, I remember 5 years ago.
You're expecting it to be like, Lita somehow knows Garibaldi's plight, so they'll connect in this episode. But instead, she pivots to, remember the TV movie pilot?
Yeah, she gets to Garibaldi's plot later. She's just like, right, I had a sex offer from Jakar because they don't. They lost all their telepaths, right?
They were exterminated by the Shadows.
Killed them. Yeah,
the Shadows.
Or the Shadows.
The Shadows killed them 1,000 years ago because telepaths are the weakness.
That's right.
They mention it in the episode because Jakar's like, back then in the pilot, I used to say that they just got wiped out but now I know for the specific reason. Like, that's the little update.
And they have this scene and talk about, like, earlier when I was talking about Sheridan and Delenn. Like, again, this is a scene with a lot of sci-fi talk and a lot of, like, continuity talk, but then, like, there's this mild horniness to it. Or I don't know if mild is the correct word, but I have to say that Andreas
that becomes an overture.
That's the you got it, nailed it. The way that Andreas plays it as, like, this guy, it's like, I'm not really the rascal that
I used to be
propositioned you 5 years ago, but
I could be.
Let's just say that door might be open. Because, like, he plays it, and he's playing
pause between the, the whole thing of just, like, and direct mating. Like, he has this really, really lingers on that.
It's just like, is this what, we haven't talked in years. Like, is this a booty call? Like, what is this?
I've not been a horny man since season 2, so I'm back.
Yeah, like, he's trying to be very respectful and calm, but then also he's just like, but what's going on here? Is she coming on to me?
I'm only used to watching people nowadays. I'm not used to people coming up to me wanting sex.
Londo's wife hasn't shown back up.
Yeah,
so.
Marielle. I think she was one of the last people he had sex with.
It's like that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where Leo is talking with that British woman, and she's just talking in dry British witticisms, but he thinks they're all sexual overtones.
Yeah. When he's talking to Joanna Lumley,
that's right. That was her.
Yes, of course it was. I love Jakar in this scene so much. He's just, because you said it, Andreas gets to play so many things here. Like, it's basically like modern Jakar, like the reform Jakar, the come to Jesus Jakar, having to tap into the old nefarious horny version of himself. And even then, there's this air of, I'm just playing with it. I'm not actually this guy anymore. But I could try to be, for you, Lita, I could try to be. And she does something interesting, which is she actually says to him, "Oh, call me by my first name," which he does because he never calls anyone by their first name in this show. Like, that's actually a thing that's referenced, but unless they only have one name, like Delenn, say. But he never does. But Lita's like, no. We're going to treat it informal here. We're going to just have a little chat about how I can benefit you, you can benefit me, and it goes back and forth, and we do get the drop of pleasure thresholds. And Rachel, it's iconic.
Fans.
It's iconic. The pleasure thresholds line in the pilot was so bizarre that JMS could have gotten away with never referencing it ever again because the series has matured so much since then. But what does he do, Rachel?
He brings it back. And he gives Lita that magnificent line of like, I recently learned.
Byron showed me that I no longer have a pleasure threshold. He gives the ownership of the pleasure threshold line to Lita. Well, in the pilot, she was repulsed by it. She was like, oh, ew. But now she's the one that's like, no, in fact, I know for a fact that there is no pleasure threshold for me because I just had awesome sex recently.
Because of all ons.
And Byron, and I radicalized a whole group of hippies with my orgasm. I've actually gone on a really interesting journey myself, Jakar. Perhaps one day we can both talk about that in depth. And
maybe we'll
blow
have a
your
lot
mind.
of time together soon.
And she comes back, and Jakar has a proposition for her about if they team up and if they do this, that my government would want you and your group of hippie telepaths to, spy on all of the alien ambassadors for us whenever we want you to. That's just a little ultimate. Come on, you can do that, right? That's perfectly fine. You're not really a part of the alliance, so you can work outside that framework. It's totally legitimately fine. And Rachel, did you think ever for a singular moment that was a real...
No. And on this particular viewing, I'm like, Lita scanned him. She knew.
You think?
She knew that it wasn't that. And she knew what he wanted to hear. That's my read on it this time.
So you don't think that everything she said was from a genuine place, that she was in a way playing to what he wanted?
I think she was playing into it because she knew what he wanted. I do think that there is truth to that, but I think she would be willing to say that she would if that was what it would take. Because when she's got what she wants, she can manipulate from there.
Can I counter you for a brief moment? I think that she's telling the truth in that moment. I didn't think that she read Jakar, but I think she's drawing from personal experience because that was Byron's big play, was to read all of the ambassadors.
Yeah, and she was deeply uncomfortable with that. But,
and it ruined the colony.
Yeah.
It destroyed the colony. Like that choice, that action, that is basically the parallel or the mirror to what Jakar is offering, ruined her life. That's what I get from it.
Interesting. Like, I think that there's a mix of things going on. I do think that is what she believes, but I think if she had to lie, she would have.
And that could also feed into your version of things, can feed into her most likely being physically there invading Garibaldi's mind.
Yes.
Because my counter to that was she's so moral in this conversation with Jakar that it puts into question that opening scene. Ben, what do you think about Lita during all of this? Where do you fall in the conversation?
It never even occurred to me that she could have scanned that out of Jakar, but I'm on your, I agree with you here, Ryan, because I think about how that was because it's the same exact offer that Byron took, and that was something else terrible probably would have would have befallen the telepath colony. But that one in particular is what made all of the ambassadors totally paranoid and upset and angry, and destabilized everything there. So
that's why she can't seek help from any of them either.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I took it. I took it at face value. I didn't even consider that. I think it's interesting to consider that. I didn't even think about it. I just took it at face value.
I've decided there's a lot of things I can do that I didn't think I could before. But this... There's still a little bit of decency left in me, Shikar. Even if it means blowing the deal, I can't do this.
Rachel, your favorite character, Linnea, was all in the description. And we have not even really talked about Linnea because, in fact, this episode is about Garibaldi more than it is about Linnea. But Linnea is here to do something. He disobeys orders. He goes rogue. He flies out there to find who is attacking these shipping lines. He knows it's a Centauri, but he needs this concrete proof.
To find the base.
He has a theory. He has his little way of getting the, what was it, like, breaking the codes or whatever, but it's a short window of time, so he needs to fly out there and, it exists. Like, it's funny that the description was all about this stuff, and in another episode, you could make this the entire episode of, like, Linnea breaks away and doesn't follow orders and nearly dies, but in this episode, this part of, like, the whole... this is tending to the galactic scale story is so minimal because the focus is more on the characters themselves, more on the deep personal journeys that they go through rather than Linnea having to basically update us on what the lore is.
Way more interested in what happens with Dylan and Sheridan because of Linnea than Linnea himself.
Well, do you want to crack open that conversation since you're also a big Delenn and Sheridan stan?
I love them, and we've already touched on how like well written their relationship is and how like true that moment rings when he's just like, oh, damn it, like I've been building up to this, like getting angry, getting annoyed, getting ready to like duke it out with you, and you've just said this one thing and it's deflated everything. Because it's like, well, now if I pick a fight with you, I'm the asshole when you did the wrong thing in the first place, and now you've taken this opportunity for retribution away from me.
Because she agrees with him.
Yes.
He finds out in a way that I've complained about with the set design of Babylon 5, which is, why is it that the most important rooms in Babylon 5 don't have doors? Other rooms have doors, but all of the diplomatic rooms or Sheridan's office, there's no doors. No doors in sight, so people could just kind of wander in there. There's in fact been so many moments where Sheridan walks into his office and somebody's already in his office fucking with his shit. Or Sinclair had that with Captain Pierce in the first season where he walked in and Captain Pierce was like touching stuff on his desk, and it's like, get doors, because Sheridan just kind of walks behind Delenn as she's just revealing that she's been a shifty, lying, conniving politician.
Little bit of performance there, very well framed, nice shot there, well timed. And the door answer I can give you pretty easy. They spent their entire door budget on Babylon 4. Easy. Any fan knows. Pay attention.
The door
Babylon
budget on Babylon 4
repurposed Babylon 5 set.
No. He's talking about in the universe of Babylon 5.
The universe, because Babylon 5 is
blew the
canonically
budget.
smaller.
Jinxo blew the budget on the doors in Babylon 4.
That's right.
Oh, I have a better answer. Like, I like Ben's.
But you've got a benter answer.
That's, yeah, okay.
No. They were going to get doors, but that's the budget that Sinclair redirected to the Union.
Yeah, and then when Orinzento said, you'll pay for this, see, here it is, paying off on a personal level. You haven't paid for this personally, Sinclair, but your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great grandaughter will. Bye. For some reason. And then Sinclair cocks his head and goes, what? And then
he knew that Palin. He knew the truth of Palin.
wouldn't it be funny if the only human before the Babylon 4 adventure happened that knew that Sinclair was Valen was Orenzento, the Union Buster.
Kosh told him in the TNT remaster.
He actually was talking to Kosh. Yeah, he's just like, "Hey, Kosh."
Yeah. They were very close. That's
he was
why
actually
he came
like
to
Kosh
5 to talk to him.
He walked up to Kosh and said, "I heard you're trying to start a union on this ship. I'm not allowing it. Something called an army of lights. Not on my watch, Mister." Fuck, I miss Orenzento type acting in this show because it's very naturalistic.
The maitre d' gives you a
little hit,
mm-hmm.
But again, the acting and the performance and all of the nuances of their relationship between John and Delenn is so palpable. I really love that in this 110 episode show that we had the courtship period. It was very delicate. It was built up towards, but chaste, but. In season 4, they just get committed. They're in a fully committed long-term relationship, and that's it. It's just that is it. And so often in these shows, the lead characters will flirt with romance. Will they, won't they? Or maybe they will, and then something will happen. There will be a breakup, and someone dies, or, oh no, watch out, Dax!
It's just like, you never think that their relationship is going to end. And that's such an easy well to like draw drama from of like, is this gonna break them? But it's like, they're gonna fight over it, but it's not gonna end their relationship. You don't question that.
Many writers struggle with keeping up a
long-term relationship and keeping it interesting without going to that edge of like, is this the end of them?
Or forcing really annoying tropes and cliches and ideas of roadblocks in relationships. They have a spat, a disagreement, a fight in this that is actually cool to watch. There's so many times I think of in these shows where you have like the relationship drama between the long-term relationship characters, and I just roll my eyes going, oh, fuck off. I don't want to hear about this, because usually they're handled very poorly. They're usually very melodramatic.
Well, I'm just on his side or I'm on her side. But you, as an audience member, genuinely understand where both of these characters are coming from. You agree, Ben?
That's what like what the whole juice of that whole scene is. Like, why, like we could see both of them, and I mean, I love that scene. I was already talking about it. I love, you could see both of their, and you understand why they both, like, this season doesn't really talk about Marcus. They don't really bring him up, but he hangs over it, and decisions like that, and it's really interesting, yeah, I mean, I love that scene, and I hate that little troll in here.
What I love about that scene is, as someone in a relationship, I find that it captures so many of the quiet things within an argument. Usually you think of the arguments like big, explosive, and they're throwing stuff, or this could be the end of the relationship. There's never any doubt, even from the beginning of Delenn's deception, that this will destroy the relationship.
No, it's like this will cause problems for them and for the broader community on B5 and like the galaxy as well. But it's not like, oh, when he finds out they're gonna get divorced,
he's going to move out of her quarters and he'll move into Garibaldi's and they'll have a party. You know, like, there's never any I always think of this too, like, she agrees with him. She goes, I agree. And he gets real pissed off about that because I can tell you for a fact, people, Rachel does that bullshit to me where I'm like, I'm justifiably angry at you for a thing that you've done. And you just go, I agree. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck me then. I can't get mad about it now. Oh, it'll be indignant of me to open this wound now that you've closed it by agreeing and putting closure on it.
But like not in that same way, but you shut down arguments when you like pull out receipts and I'm like,
the kryptonite.
You're right.
Yeah,
fuck you.
The kryptonite for Rachel is when I say, if I did this to you, you wouldn't like it.
Don't you fucking dare!
But here's the thing. Ben has said it. This is a story about a couple bickering about military strategy over a galactic war about to brew, but we can still relate to it. We can still talk about it and bring things in of our own. And it's not about siding with one or the other. It's about almost giggling at them being such a married old couple at this point. Like, there they are. They're married. They're truly in it. They're in the thick of it. There's no doubt that this is just how it will be with them running the Interstellar Alliance. They'll have their cute little moments.
They know each other.
Then it's offset because she is worried about Linnea, that he's dead, and she's...
That scene in the bed where he's just like, it's okay, you didn't do the wrong thing, and she's just like, he's not dead. He's not dead till I see a body. And it's just like, you might never get that closure if he was actually dead.
It says so much about the strength and the connection she has with Linnea. She needs that definite form of closure to even have faith in the concept that he's no longer around.
Yeah.
While she's someone that's been a leader of her people, she's served in the war, she's served in many wars, she knows the reality of such things for others, but... I
will say I also prefer that over the I would feel it. Because that wouldn't feel right for Delenn.
And it's about this... The guilt has shifted around because she pointed out that you were in the wrong, Sheridan, because you didn't assign Linnea because he's my friend.
Risk him, and now he's seeing like why he didn't do that. He didn't want to see her in pain.
I want to ask this though for both of you. Until Delenn brought up that exact point, did you even think that Sheridan didn't assign Linnea to any of this because of that reason? Because I genuinely was like, oh, he didn't assign Linnea to it because he probably didn't even think about Linnea.
Yeah, because he's a cadet, like not a cadet, but he's in training.
Yeah,
like you know,
it's a big job to give somebody who isn't even a fully qualified ranger. And I also find it weird that there's no other person, like...
He has a very specific set of skills.
Yeah, he does. Nobody else came close.
Well, you see, Rachel, he has a history with the Centauri because he went to a bar one time with Londo in season 1.
I was going to bring this up. He has a history with the Centauri. Since when?
Well, he had
I watched this whole show.
He's chatted with Via routinely at the bar.
Yeah.
He's getting upset now because that is a good point. What about that time?
I don't think that's a good point because Veer is not a representative sample.
I guess he does not like.
But what about everybody that worked with Veer
on Minbar? Yeah, that's true. Actually, a great point, Rachel. Fuck you, JMS. I think of it as he has, in the way, it doesn't work for this. The way that Linnea has interacted with Centauri is through Londo's moral descent. It's been very clear that we saw him naively think Londo's a funny guy and somebody worth lying for. Then we saw him go to a phase of believing that Londo's soul was so damned that there was no point of even trying to save him. Then feeling guilty for just instinctually saving the man's life and what cost could what cost could that bring to the galaxy, to then in season 4 when Londo helped Sheridan by forming an alliance of people in the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, to Lanier being like, oh, I underestimated Londo's, like, through the prism of specifically Londo, yes, but not enough to be like, oh, Lanier's an expert in Centauri culture.
No, nah.
He's an expert in human culture. He knows who Rebo and Zudi are.
Yeah.
Rebo and Zudi are here? Zoot Zoot? This is truly a day of wonders.
One of the notes I have here, it's an obvious note to make, but it's always one to bring up, which is...
Is it that Mira is fucking fantastic and I love her?
Mira's great acting is what I wrote in my notes.
Okay.
When she finds out that Lanier is alive and that he's got the information and that all of her fears have been quashed, but also her faith has been strengthened.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also the sadness that the war with the Centauri is...
And bumping into Londo, like you said, that scene is crisp in my mind as well, of her hugging Londo and her being like I don't think we've ever done that. I think that time might be running out to do that. And Londo's... Like, there's this softness, but confusion. But yet he understands not to ask more.
Mira...
Mira is there and she's giving a lot, but I do want to side note and say, like, Peter in reaction.
Oh, yeah.
As well is, it makes it even more beautiful.
She's always been one of the greatest performers on the show. Everyone knows this too. Andreas and Peter often get the limelight when it comes to, like, who are the best actors on the show. But honestly, Mira and Bruce are always right up there as well. I think that Mira always was able to convey a multitude of emotions at the same time without it being muddled. That reaction where she's crying and laughing, and I can't even be able to express all the things that she's putting in that moment. It's just so much.
Yeah, she really puts on a clinic in this episode. We really see her being crafty in that first season, that first scene with Lanier, like, sneak, we won't let Sheridan know, not yet. And then, like, this interesting marital argument gambit, and then how, like, as she lays in bed and she's in shock, but she says that she believes that he's alive, and then her moment with Londo, and then her moment with Lanier, and every single one of those scenes is played very, very differently, and very, like with a very different set of emotions, and the way that she just nails it every time. And she breaks your heart in the scene where, like, she hugs Londo, because they never, like, even like that last meeting they have in Objects at Rest, like, she knows that there's something wrong. And like, this, I don't know, she's just really wonderful in this show, and in this episode in particular, an episode that, as you pointed out, the DVD box said is a linear episode, and we've talked about every single other character and actor other than Bill.
Look, Bill Mumy does a fantastic job too, and Lanier's stuff is, I actually kind of have been enjoying discussing it on our podcast, but in this episode, it's not important.
No, he does what you think he's
He
gonna
helps
do.
further the plot for the next episode.
Yeah.
That's the thing he does, is the next episode would not happen without him.
It's the ripples.
Yeah, and you feel bad for Londo. You feel bad for Londo when she hugs him, because it's all over.
I feel worse for him in that moment than when Veer tells him, well, we were the only ones not invited.
there's this one of the things I really love about season 5 is the tragedy. There's this real bittersweet quality to the season that even people who, you know, they've been bad people, they've been bad guys, like Londo, of course. He's tried to better himself. He's tried to be better. He's tried to do good, and there's this just thickness in the air of it's too late though. Like, you tried, Londo. People like Jakar can forgive you and think of you as like a buddy, but you're damned though. The Emperor said it. You're damned, and we're going to watch you really, really learn that over the course of the show. But in particularly season 5,
the prophecy you were given told you how close you were.
And when she hugs him, it's just like this reminder of Londo is damned. Like, he cannot get a happy ending. She's hugging him because there will be no time to hug again. We're not going to have a drink at the bar. No. Londo even says the casino is no longer for him. He is no longer the season 1 Londo that can have fun and just be a good time, like have a good time. His version of a good time is sleeping. That's what he had. Like, you have all the time in the world to do whatever you like now, Londo. And what does he decide to do? I'll just sleep. I'll just unplug. That's what he does.
Yeah, he can dream of something better, or like just avoid dealing with the problems that he has in front of him.
Londo is getting the noose around his neck, and the Centauri as well. Everyone is aware that it's a Centauri. Even Londo knows to an extent that it's them.
Or that they're at least going to get pinned for it. He has that conversation with the guy back on Centauri Prime being like, they're going to try and frame us.
And here's all the
Don't let them.
Here's all the logical reasons how that could happen. But if you poke at them, even for a second, it all falls apart. But let's not do that. Yeah, it's Londo is a guy in this show that has so many, things that you can grab onto and talk about for hours on end. But in this episode, it is actually stripping away all of the things that he often fills his time with and gives him nothing to do. And so what does Londo look like when he's got nothing to do? And the answer is nervous. He's very nervous in this episode.
Well, he's a character. He's always in motion. Like, he's a character that's always, he talks about the Gathering, talks about how, like, sharks are, always in motion, and now he's stopped. Something's very concerning and upsetting about that.
And they get the evidence and will be at war with the Centauri. It's going to be, that moment of Londo realizing that everyone knows before he's ever been officially told anything, when he had a lovely conversation with, as he calls it, the doctor. I'm talking to the doctor. Don't you know this? Franklin and I are friends, apparently.
When Franklin looks back at him, oof.
Richard Biggs doesn't get too much to do in this episode, but every moment he's here, he makes sure that he's also putting on a clinic. He's fantastic.
It's amazing. Like, I loved him in Garibaldi's Nightmare so much.
And I love the look of absolute shock and disgust on his face when Garibaldi's talking to him about, obviously, what the Centauri have done. He was really jovial and just having a good old time with Londo. Like, why do people keep asking about if we'd use the medical research for war? I don't understand that. Like, to then...
Come on, don't they know me?
To then being the classic Franklin of, oh, that's right. The world is a nightmare and an awful place, and that guy over there is a fucking war criminal, of course. How could I forget that? And Garibaldi says it. We're going to be at war with the Centauri, and it's going to be bad. What a great way to end the episode of just like, no, we're promising you that there's going to be a war, and then you remember there's only like a handful of episodes left. You're like,
what? What now?
Guys, I thought
we were done with the wars. Like, we had the Shadow War, we had the Civil War, we've had this little bit of break, and now what? What?
Yeah, it's not going to end well for anyone.
No.
It's time for the Spotlight, the part of the show in which we talk about an actor or actress that appeared in a given episode, go over their work, go over the performance, and any interesting pieces of trivia we may have found.
We have touched upon the choice for this episode. The maitre d', played by Wesley Ace Mask.
Yes, Ace Mask, or as he's credited in this episode, Wesley Mask, because I guess that's his...
Big move to go as Ace Mask for years. Good for you, man. Like, it's like, excuse me, sir, what's your name? Ace Mask. And it's not even a lie. That is his name. Like, he was just like, this is the cool guy name. I mean, it might have been like a...
Actor name?
Like a... Yeah, it might have been a SAG thing. There might have already been a Wesley Mask.
Sure, or I take it as when he did legitimate movies or shows, he had to use Wesley Mask because it's not as absurd as
that's a
Ace
good point.
Mask because to get into the actor, he does a lot of low-end movies,
Trash.
cult movies, B movies, schlock.
A lot of commercial work.
A lot of commercials as well, but for that type of work where he does a lot of, your B movie types, they can have actors with fun names, then aren't they real names and or nicknames. And I would imagine like, oh yeah, I'm going to be, I'm going to be in this stable of schlock movies. I'm Ace Mask. I think that's how I view it. I don't know if that's true. And then when you had to do legitimate work like B5, it becomes, I'll use my real name, Wesley.
I'm going to test this theory because in the middle of a run of bad movies, he was on the sitcom Wings. So I'm going to I've got Paramount Plus open right now.
Please.
And it doesn't say on IMDb, like it doesn't say that it says that he's credited as his Ace, but we'll see this. We'll
see the answers.
Test your theory because Wings
it's a
isn't
game
a great
theory.
show, but it's an
iconic show.
Perfectly fine. It's better than Zorgon, the H-bomb beast from hell.
So let's talk about while you look that up, let's talk about the performance a bit. I've already said it. I love how campy and just hammy and theatrical it is. He comes across as a snooty maitre d' in a restaurant that it's almost like he is from a 1940s comedy movie. He could have been in one of the Thin Man films. Like he's just got a certain vibe to him. And you know what is wonderful? We've had 5 seasons of guest star actors that have all captured this type of vibe before. So he doesn't stand out as particularly odd. He stands out as like...
Don't forget the bartender.
Oh yeah, the famous bartender from one of the previous episodes. We've had many bartenders, but like I know the one you talk about, I seen Naked Pac Mara. But we've had a lot of these type of guys in the show and girls in the show where they just have a certain style to them. And I don't know if it's just Babylon 5 just keeps casting actors like this, or if it's like we need our B characters to be kind of a certain way.
Maybe.
Because it's happened a lot.
It has.
Like even Corwin's become a little bit like this over time.
Yeah, true.
What do you think, Rachel? The maitre d' is only in this one sequence.
He's fun. I do think, as a maitre d', I find it weird that he pushes back twice. The ones I get, but it's just like, no, you should know your job better than this.
I mean, Rachel, we just watched The Sopranos.
Convenience.
We just watched The Sopranos, and your least favorite character worked at a restaurant, and he was awfully pushy with the clientele.
Yeah, but we knew that he was bad at his job. So, we don't get the impression that this guy's bad at his job, but maybe he is.
He works at the best restaurant of Babylon 5.
Yeah, it's just you don't get to that point, because it's not like he's the owner of the restaurant. Artie's the owner. That's why he thinks he can be like that.
Of course. And question... The Babylon 5 cooking book is written from the point of view...
Yes, it is.
...of the maitre d', is it? Or someone from Fresh Air?
Ace Mask in Wings.
Yes, okay.
He's Ace Mask is Mr. Tupperman.
But The Babylon 5 cooking book is written by someone who works at Fresh Air. I can't remember if it's the maitre d' or like the chef or owner.
It isn't. It's the owner.
Damn it!
I can
look. If it was this guy and he wrote the Babylon 5 cooking book, that would be an amazing little detail to have thrown in your extended lore that the cooking book is canon. That would have been amazing.
Okay. Do we want to? Ben?
The wiki, I think, actually references it as if it is canon.
Of course. It has to be canon.
Emerson Briggs Wallace, restaurateur, Fresh Air Restaurant.
Damn it. We don't know, Ace Mask, if he was in The Road Home, they could have had him do the voice of a Fresh Air guy. It would have been nice, but no fun to be had there. Ben, I mean, when I watched this performance, I thought, oh, this is a Ben type of performance. He would love this type of shit.
Great performance. I love it. Yeah, I love it. And when I was excited, I knew that this was the guy that you were going to pick for this.
It was him or Lise.
Yeah. And it's like that the Centauri, he gets more time in the upcoming episode, so I assume maybe him eventually, but I don't know. But I was wondering, and I have seen him in one of the movies, one of the bad movies he's been in, which is I saw him in. He plays the principal in Munchie.
And Munchie Strikes Back. Don't forget Munchie Strikes Back.
Yeah, he returns.
But you haven't seen the second one?
But it looks like he plays a different character, actually, because it says in Principal Thornton, I haven't seen the sequel, Principal Thornton and Mr. Poindexter in the sequel. And the Munchie was just in the most recent season of Mystery Science Theater, and it was easily one of the worst movies they've ever done. Like, just garbage. My understanding, and I could be wrong here, was that it's a kids movie directed by a porn director, because it sure has that feeling. Like, it has that look.
I have an answer to all of these things, but
yeah.
Roger Corman and New Horizons Home Video bring you the family fantasy adventure Munchie, the all-star sequel to the video blockbuster Munchies. Now Munchies come to school to help Gage with a few class projects.
I have seen him in a couple of things over the years. He was in an episode of Buffy.
Yes.
Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about his Buffy?
He was in a episode in the college days. Can't remember the title of it now, but he was Professor Roberts, who just shoots down Buffy's hypotheses. And he's like, oh, maybe you should just go to Speculation 101 or something like that.
So wait, are you telling me he was a snooty authority figure?
Yes.
What? No, and an educational one?
Uh-huh.
That was an episode, I read the synopsis, it was all about like the Watchers, it's a Giles episode, which is what translates good episode. Yes, so I have also seen him in schlock films. He was in the infamous film Chopping Mall.
That was his,
Chopping Mall is a famous one.
First full-length film credit, and he was janitor number 2.
Yes, he is with another janitor, and they're like these really slapsticky old school comedy reliefs of Chopping Mall. Chopping Mall, which was starring an actor we've done on the Spotlight before, Garrett Graham, who was Lord Kiro in Signs and Portents, who's a famous actor in his own right. He's done a bunch of stuff. He was the voice of the dad in The Critic, and of course he was in Phantom of the Paradise. And he was the Q in Star Trek in that Voyager episode, the one that wanted to kill himself. He's been in a bunch too, but there was a little connection there. But yes, this Ace Mask, he has done a lot of cult films, I guess, a lot of sleazy films, and very interesting run of things. He played a maitre d' in another thing. In Big Bad Mama 2, he was a maitre d'. And this is the one that I love, which is in Not of This Earth and The Return of Swamp Thing, he plays the same character. And he's the only character that's in both of those films. Like, he's the connective tissue of those movies. Isn't that weird? Like, one's an alien movie and one's like a Swamp Thing movie. It's just something that I find curious. And in another film, a vampire one, Transylvania Twist, he plays Van Helsing. Can you imagine this guy as Van Helsing?
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I also just like that his last acting credit on IMDb is Bold and the Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just like, I've sung to this. I guess it's time to just call it quits.
Rachel, have you seen him in anything, or has anything in your quick look leapt out? Any interesting pieces?
No, like everything that I had written down we've already mentioned, but there was some bonus things that I found if you're ready to get into his work beyond acting.
Well, I'll leave off with this major important thing. He's a frequent collaborator. Most of the movies listed were created by one man, Jim Wynorski, who, as Ben pointed out, is kind of a sleazy guy. Like, he does a lot of porn, but he also does a lot of comedy. He's just one of those guys that just pumps out a lot of shit. Just, he's over 100 movies, and they're all garbage. They're all garbage. He says, one of Jim Wynorski's quotes is, the best special effects in movies is boobs. That's one of his quotes. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys.
Sounds right.
But he is a fun connection. Jim Wynorski had a very close personal friendship and working relationship with someone involved in Babylon 5. Do you want to have a guess? Anyone want to have a guess of who was
Larry?
John Flynn.
Larry.
My guess was Larry.
Larry DeTillion. What did you say, Ben?
John Flynn.
Harlan Ellison.
Oh, that makes
Harlan
sense.
Ellison
That makes sense.
even wrote in a foreword of one of his books, like a whole thing dedicated to Jim Wynorski as like, you're my fellow collaborator, you're my partner in crime, I love what you do, you're a cinematic visionary. It's like, Harlan?
Okay.
Harlan is what's in these movies.
Big fan of boobs too.
He's like Roger Ebert.
Yeah, I mean, that's factually true. So you've got that in the books, but that is what I've managed to get on Ace Mask. And yes, he has kept the mustache throughout most, if not all, of these movies.
I tried to find some of the ads that he's been in because I didn't see this in his IMDb bio, but it was in his Goodreads bio, which was that he's been in over 100 like TV and ads, like advertisements. And
I just opened up the video. You sent me this video, and I just saw it.
We sent Ben a video of one of his ads in which, what is he doing, Ben?
It's he's a wealthy man with a popping monocle. He has a monocle pop.
Yep, it's a monocle pop.
That's like it for some bank or something, I can't remember, but he does a lot of snooty guys. I saw an ad with him popping a monocle, and I thought Ben would love this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. And I mean, it's just he has that look.
Yeah. He works for a lot of things that like advertisements want to do because his appearance says a lot.
Balding, elder gentleman with a dignified mustache.
White-haired,
yeah.
So, Ben, are you familiar with the platform of Goodreads?
I mean, I have an account. I don't really use it that much. But that's like,
do you know what him having one
on,
like him having a profile on Goodreads means?
Oh, I know.
He's still alive and reading books.
That he's an author. Because you don't do a bio on your if you're just like reading books.
Okay.
So he's written. I think it was like over 4 books.
Okay.
That most of them are a part of this series. The one, like the most noted one, is called Forever Stay.
Okay.
And they all have, all of the covers have one thing in common.
What?
They all have collies on them. The dog breed.
Oh, okay.
Because
dogs.
That's like his thing.
What do you mean, his thing?
He loves collies.
Like border collies?
Oh, that's cute. Like Lassie.
Yeah.
Like Lassie.
Like not border collies, but like collies.
Okay, so he's a dog man.
He is.
Is he Ace Mask or is he Wesley Mask?
That's true.
Ace.
Of course.
Is Ace Mask as a writer. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
look at, holy smokes.
Are you finding the dogs?
Wow.
He's finding the dogs.
Oh wow! The collies of Christmas. It's almost Christmas. It's a little over a month away. It's time to pick up a copy. He's a cozy mystery writer.
Hold on, let Rachel direct us. So he's big into dogs.
Go to Facebook and look up The Collies of Heather Circle.
What an interesting title.
Because he does work with his collies as therapy dogs.
Oh, okay.
So he's also involved in a number of charities. So it's like Ace and his dogs work extensively as certified.
Oh, this is so cute.
Have you seen the Happy Birthday one yet?
Yes, that's the one with the cat.
Yeah.
Rachel, keep going. For us. For me, I don't have all of this in front of me. I'm learning about these dogs.
Ace and his dogs work extensively as certified therapy dog teams, providing comfort and support to victims of child abuse, brain-injured children, hospital patients, airport travelers, and many others.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Wait, his Facebook photo is him in a cardigan with a big grandpa smile. And he's just sitting there with 3 beautiful collies next to him. He looks like, I can't believe he was a snooty maitre d'. He just looks like a loving, wonderful grandpa.
When Garibaldi was saying coffee, did this guy hear collie?
He has a YouTube channel as well where he has that was how I found a couple of his ads because they're in his favorites playlist. But there's a very cute one that's called Heather's Scrapbook, which is like just these little clips of his dogs.
Clips of his dogs. That's so sweet. And I love that. I love the pictures of him with Christmas.
The Halloween ones made me very happy.
Christmas dogs. With Christmas around the corner, perhaps he can get the help of the actor of Captain Jack, who's known for being a Santa Claus.
Maybe.
Team up. Team up, you kooky guys. Time to rate Darkness Ascending. On our scale of Yum being bad and Yum Yum being good, what do you give Darkness Ascending, Ben?
That's a Yum Yum.
Yum Yum.
And an extra Yum Yum for the collies of Heather's Circle. I'm just going through this, and these are adorable dogs.
You know what you've got to do? You've got to link this to your fellow Babylon 5 podcasting team and just say coffee and then just nothing else. And maybe a monocle. Of course, I give Darkness Ascending a Yum Yum.
Yum Yum.
It's a Yum Yum for me too.
Yum Yum.
I need to hear from you, Rachel, what the next episode of Babylon 5 is.
On an all-new Babylon 5.
Episode 16. We're getting to the final stretch. And we will be covering And All My Dreams Torn Asunder. It is the beginning of war. Perhaps the beginning of the end for the fragile alliance. When Garibaldi's lapse in judgment turns a peacekeeping assignment into an all-out conflict. Now, I just want to count the number of dashes, like M dashes.
4.
We got
Is it
1,
okay, 1,
2, 3.
3. Is there 4?
Oh, no, it's 2 M dashes and 1 just like dash in all out. But it feels excessive somehow, even though it's only 2.
Thank you. We'll find out if the dashes will be excessive in the episode itself. I'm sure that Mira's husband, who directs the next episode, made an emphasis on dashes in there, and we'll keep an eye out for the dashes. No, not dash hounds. We were talking about collies a moment ago, but now we're talking about just ashes. But we are done and dusted with this, Ben. Thank you so much for coming back on to the podcast. And
thank you so much.
This will be your final time talking with us about Babylon 5. Isn't that sad? Don't you have a tear rolling down your face?
Well, I'll be back to talk about Crusade, about Warzone.
I know.
You'll be alone.
I'm not promising that we're doing Crusade. I've said from the beginning I don't want to really do it, but I'll come on with you to talk about it. Rachel's never watched Crusade.
I think we're going to rush through those. I'm
Look.
I'll
do the Lockley episodes of Crusade with you. She's in them. She's in the
I know.
She's in the opening credits, but she's in maybe like 3 episodes of the show.
Well, that's more than Kefir.
Well, it's less episodes too. It's only 13.
Yeah.
It's not a full 22.
They butchered that thing.
We are done. We are dusted. We're getting out of here, Ben. A pleasure to have you on. Rachel, it was nice to go over a Garibaldi episode that did not make us annoyed.
Yeah.
It's nice. Every now and then we get one, but
weird.
not often. It's not often.
It feels weird.
And we are done over here. You can find us on your social media of choice under YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast. If you want to keep up with us, we like to have a chat. We like to share some funny stuff. We can be found on all of those podcatching sites as well. So if you're not subscribed to us or following us or tuned in on whatever one you like, you should, so you get updated. We're on YouTube as well. And Rachel and I, we've guested on Ben's podcast, the Last Best Babylon 5 podcast. We've been on there a few times. In fact, we're kind of, one of the only recurring guests on that show.
Yeah, you and Jinxo. I mean, he was there once, but
yeah, I said recurring.
He's recurring in my
heart. You
heart.
also had a friend review music with you on there about the Babylon 5 album.
That album. Awful.
Are you trying to forget the name? Yeah, that's right. The B5, which really, they could have used Ace Mask on there as a backing vocal. But yes, that is it. Ben's podcast can be found. Where, Ben? Where are you guys at these days? I know you're on podcasting
We're found wherever you find podcasts. Last Best B5. Or Last Best Babylon 5 podcast.
Get it right.
Shoot us an email at lastbestb5.
At Gmail?
At Gmail, yeah. Or just type it into any of them, and the one that doesn't bounce back. LastBestB5 at prodigy.net.
Done with this. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And remember that Jakar has changed a lot since The Gathering. But the one thing that has been forgotten,
has been neglected, is his distinctive farewell that he does in that television movie where so many other things have been kept up. Like, who knows? The coffee that Garibaldi lies about being bad may be from Takashima's coffee plant.
That's true. Remember Takashima? She, like the Jakar farewell, has never been referenced again since The Gathering.
Oh, I thought she had.
They've never name-dropped Takashima. They just said, oh, there was a previous person.
Oh, okay.
That's all. But Jakar used to smack his chest and say, good eating to you.
Good eating to you. Good eating to you.
Good eating to you, Rachel. Good eating to you, Benjamin.
Good eating to all of you, wanderers.
It went from Dracula to Sinclair.
Yeah. That was an evolution.
Man, could you imagine if Michael O'Hare played Dracula?
I don't.
It would be Mel Brooks is dead and loving it.